With the recent pandemic, this is the first time in history where travel bans have been put in place around the world, which meant our Scotland adventure had been cancelled. We still wanted to get away, and Tracy let me plan a 10-day overland trip with only 2 requests. 1. Our trip to each destination be no more than 6 hours long, and 2. We must be camped near a river or a lake. If that's not possible, she wanted to make sure our camp would have an epic view. With those criteria in mind, I quickly began planning our trip to include our trusty Jeep Mando for our 10-day adventure of mixed highway and Forest Service backroads in beautiful British Columbia. My first resource was the community-fed iOverlander app. I had a general idea of where I wanted our overland trip to take place, but wanted to make sure possible camp spots were along the way that met our criteria. Finally, I put all waypoints into our newly purchased Gaia GPS app. We were packed and ready to depart for what we believed would be an incredible journey. A couple of years back, I spent a weekend fly fishing in the Elk Valley, north of Elkford. I was intrigued by its beauty and landscape. This was why the locals call it God's country. I wanted to return and explore more of the valley, as I heard there was a beautiful waterfall above the upper Elk Lakes, which borders with Alberta. Our Gaia GPS indicated the last recreational site was only a short drive from the trailhead parking lot to the falls. So we opted to check it out, and wow, it was an amazing sight to see. We just love our overland Jeep setup. Tracy and I have everything dialed in, and we can be set up in minutes so that we can enjoy the evenings. The next morning, we woke up to a beautiful overcast day with the clouds silhouetting the massive rock landforms, and we made our way to the trailhead parking lot. The trail in the beginning was perfect to get our legs stretched, as the climb to the falls some 16 kilometers away gets a little more intense. We continued to hike the high alpine landscape with the thick green pine trees and beautiful wildflowers. As we ascended the final kilometer to the falls, we could hear the thundering water, and once we peeked over the tree line, we could see the 3 small falls that fed the massive P10 waterfall. Our camp for this evening was planned to be on the west side of Lake Koocanusa, but with the recent illegal mud bogging events and reckless campers around the lake, all Crown land camping was banned to help protect the area that had been badly misused. We continued west on the Forest Service Road away from the banned zones and found this beautiful secluded camp spot at the end of the trail. The view was breathtaking. The next day, we broke camp early and made our way to Upper Arrow Lake to find one of the waypoints placed in our Gaia GPS. The roads were long and rough, but the views made up for the excessive dust our tires produced. Needless to say, we took some wrong turns and took on some fresh new pinstripes courtesy of the thick BC brush. We had to backtrack and found one of the many recreational sites British Columbia has to offer. Being the only campers at the site, we picked the best camp spot closest to the lake. 3 epic views and 1 lake view. So far, so good. After a long drive on the highway, we finally turned off on one of the 4 surface roads and began looking for a place to camp for the night. Dead end after dead end with nothing worth setting up camp for, we finally decided to pull off on the side of the trail. We were tired and defeated. Our luck had run out. We crawled up into the tent and played some cards while the sun set. Soon, it was time for a good night's sleep. So we thought.
Tracy. What? Do you hear that? Yeah, what is that? I don't know.
With evidence of bear scat on the trail, we think a black bear had wandered around our Jeep in the middle of the night. Tracy had no desire to make coffee or breakfast in the morning, so we quickly packed up and began our descent down the mountain as we had one final goal, destination. The final days of our overland adventure was spent relaxing at the Oyama Lake recreational site, which was recommended to us by a local we met on one of the trails. Our Jeep Mando had done well, and it was time for it to rest as well. The lake was calm and beautiful. We could hear loons communicating all night long with the warm, soft breeze blowing through our tent. The warm evenings were peaceful, and the golden hours were a photographer's perfect setting. We had done it, and we didn't want to leave this place. Life has a way of pulling us away from the things we enjoy, and soon we had to make our journey home.